We have a good news story for you in our world lead right now. Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan and Alsu Kurmasheva, names that we've been reporting on for years in some cases, are all in the United States, back home with their loved ones. They're actually right now recovering at an army base in Texas, reacclimating to life after being part of the largest prisoner swap between Russia and the West since the Cold War. Joining us now for an exclusive TV interview, someone who was integral in orchestrating the incredibly delicate prisoner swap, the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs, Roger Carstens. It's so good to have you on here, Mr. Ambassador. Thanks so much for being here. And for people who don't know, you were originally in the Trump administration and you were a holdover, and Biden, to his credit, kept you. You were doing a good job for Trump and kept you, and you're doing the same job for Biden. How are they doing? How are Evan and Paul Whelan and Alsu doing now that they're free?
It's funny, I'm torn between saying that they're doing great and the other part wants to let them tell their own stories. But from what I saw, I've witnessed people that are reconnecting with their families, they're decompressing, they're starting to make sense of their captivity and their freedom. And it's really fun, interesting, and beautiful to watch. But my sense is that they're doing pretty good right now.
In the last few critical hours of the deal, until the plane landed and they were escorted off and in United States custody, were you fearful that it might fall apart, it might fall through?
We've talked about this before, you and I, that it's never over until they step off onto that tarmac into U.S. soil. And I think everyone's trying to make sure they dot the I's and cross the T's at the transition point to make sure that you're getting the right people, the right numbers, and everything. Everyone's trying to confirm and verify. But I think I can say that the negotiating team that made up of our intelligence community, Jake Sullivan, Secretary Blinken, everyone who threw themselves into this, and this was a whole of government effort, did such amazing work that this is one that I actually felt reasonably comfortable as the swap was coming together at the target location.
In May, you described watching previous reunions between hostages and their families as, quote, emotional and almost too intimate to watch. What was the most memorable moment of Thursday night to you?
You know, Jake, was the same one, but this time all of America got to witness what I've had a chance to see before. When the plane landed in Andrews Air Force Base, the president, the vice president met everyone as they came down the stairways, and then the families kind of, met and crashed into each other. Everyone in America, around the world, had a chance to see what I've been privileged to see, and that is a son meeting his mother. I think of that beautiful scene where Evan's picking his mother up and lifting her off her feet. Alsu meeting Pavel and her two daughters. Paul Whelan reconnecting with Elizabeth. I mean, that's something that I've had a chance to see, and now everyone's had a chance to see that special moment.
Did the U.S. make the assessment that encouraging Germany to release the Russian assassin Vadim Krasikov to achieve this swap would not ultimately put people in danger? I mean, how does that work? Obviously, just so people know, the Russians wanted this guy, this hitman, this Russian hitman, who killed a Chechen on German soil and was in a German prison. The Russians wanted him. That was part of the deal. And ultimately, Olaf Scholz had to do something tough. And President Biden had to appeal to the Germans, please do this so we can get our people home. Is he still a dangerous guy?
You know, it's hard to determine what he's going to do in the future. I mean, obviously, we hope he goes back and does nothing. There's a phrase that the moral imperative outweighs the moral hazard. We knew that in trading him, we would get X number of people back, and that was a good thing, provable that day. What happens in the future with him, we don't know. We can hope. We can take different mitigation steps to hopefully make sure that he behaves himself as life goes forward. But you always assume a risk in these situations, and the president's been willing to make these hard decisions. The prime minister of course, Germany was willing to make that, and we just have to push on. The bottom line is it was a good day. We have Russian dissidents returning, Vladimir Kara-Murza, and 3 Americans coming home to America. I think we need to be proud of what we were able to accomplish as not only an administration, but also the U.S. working with partners and allies across the world to make it happen.
So your job is to find out what is the deal that will get these Americans home.
Yes.
And then you go to Jake Sullivan of the National Security Council, Secretary of State Blinken, President Biden, you say, here's what it is. They have to make the tough calls whether or not drug dealers, murderers, money, whatever is released. Mm-hmm. What do you say to the criticism from Republicans like Lindsey Graham, for example, who say this is just going to encourage Putin to take more Americans as hostage.
Now, the funny thing is, it's just not proving true. I mean, there was a time when I had 54 cases. I'm now down to just over 20. So we've made hard changes. We've traded some bad people to get good people, innocent people back. And you would think that my numbers would be skyrocketing up, and yet they're not. They're going in the opposite direction. So the math proves that assertion to be wrong. When we make these hard decisions and the president makes the tough call to send someone back in a trade like this, our numbers are actually going down.
Yeah, and they're all over the world, the ones, the 20 or so that are still there in China. There are 5 joint American-Israeli citizens being held by Hamas in Gaza. There's an American school teacher named Mark Fogel. He's not been officially designated as wrongfully detained. His sister Ann told CNN she still hasn't heard from President Biden. Do you think the president's going to reach out to the family at any point? I mean, what can you tell us about the Mark Fogel case?
No, I would never want to speak for the President of the United States, but I would say that we've made calls on the Russians to release Mark Fogel on humanitarian grounds. We've brought back people that were not wrongful detainees. I think 4 in Venezuela. We brought back 1 on this recent effort. So just because someone's not necessarily designated wrongful doesn't mean that we're not also trying to work behind the scenes to bring them home as well.
And the president is working hard to get those 5 Americans being kept in captivity by Hamas in Gaza as well?
Absolutely. That's a full court press by the entire United States government. CIA Director Bill Burns, my boss Tony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, the president, everyone is pushing hard to try to bring those Americans home.
Well, I know how much joy you have brought to so many people. And, you know, we cover these stories. We don't often get to cover the good news stories on this show, but when we do, often you're at the other end of the table, Roger Carstens. So thank you for what you do.
Thanks a lot, Jake. I appreciate it.